Hello there. Welcome to this channel, where we will be reviewing the movie stories. Today we will see about the movie named Fright Night. I have covered the plot as far as my understanding. Please watch the movie, and have fun. Without further ado, let's get into the video. The movie starts in a remote place, in Las Vegas, specifically on the Hillcrest Bluffs. Inside a home, a TV show is playing, while the news reports a woman's encounter at a supermarket, where a man attempted to bite her. Suddenly, a guy runs out of the bedroom, his shirt covered in blood, in a state of panic. He enters another room, where a couple of people lie dead, with bite marks on their necks. He frantically tries to unlock a gun, but a creature grabs hold of him, and pulls him away. Charlie, a teenager living in the Las Vegas suburb, has his bike knocked over once again, and spots his attractive neighbor Doris. He attempts to flirt with her, but his mom Jane teases him to stay calm and not get stressed. Jane is disappointed to see people moving out of the neighborhood, instead of forming a close-knit community. At that moment, Amy, Charlie's girlfriend, arrives and gives Charlie a ride to school. She tells him that he worries too much and is overly stressed. Charlie asks Amy if she would accompany him to the prom, but she declines, stating that seniors don't usually attend. His friends wonder how Charlie managed to get a girl as attractive as Amy. In the classroom, Charlie notices that more and more students are missing each day, leading him to believe that they are leaving town. Ed, his best friend from childhood, tries to meet Charlie many times, but he keeps on ignoring him. Charlie thinks that being with Ed makes him look like a nerd, and might ruin his stature with others in school. However, Ed tells Charlie that Adam is missing, and he is not returning texts or phone calls in his usual manner. Ed suspects that something might have happened to their friend, and it's not just Adam who is missing in town. Ed tries to get Charlie as his backup by attempting to embarrass him in a funny way, hoping that Charlie will help him instead of ignoring his calls. They plan to visit Adam's house and check if he is okay. Instead of assisting Ed, Charlie chooses to ride with Amy and returns home. He notices that there is a new guy helping his mom in the lawn, and finds it strange that his mom is flirting with the new neighbor. Jane introduces Charlie and Amy to Jerry, the new neighbor, who has moved into the Perry's house, next to Charlie's home. Jerry apologizes for not inviting them, as he is currently busy with the move-in process. Ed sends a video of their old childhood to embarrass Charlie and remind him of the help he promised. Ed decides to check on Adam's house, but there's no response at the door. So, he and Charlie sneak inside. Ed also warns Charlie about their new neighbor, Jerry, claiming that he is a vampire. However, Charlie dismisses Ed's claims, thinking that he's just being paranoid. He gets frustrated with Ed for persisting with the vampire theory. Ed tries to explain that Jerry's house is in the middle of the suburbs, and that Jerry recently moved into the house next to Charlie's, where the Perrys used to live, before mysteriously leaving town. Ed points out that Jerry's windows are completely blacked out. Charlie tries to brush off Ed's concerns, mocking him and suggesting that he's being paranoid or on drugs. Ed insists that Charlie hasn't invited Jerry into his house, and should keep it that way, since vampires cannot enter without an invitation. He also mentions Peter Vincent's show that discusses vampire stories and ways to evade and kill them. Charlie thinks that Ed is being ridiculous and dismisses his claims. However, Ed continues to plead with Charlie, emphasizing that Charlie is more focused on popularity and flirting with Amy, rather than caring about Adam, their missing friend. While Ed returns to his home, he meets one of the seniors, Mark, from the school, and gets into teasing by him. While running away, he loses his bag full of vampire-killing steaks and other items. While moving across the homes in the area, he is confronted by Jerry, who tells Ed that he is aware that he has been watching him, just as Jerry has been watching Ed. Jerry breaks into a house by smashing a glass, and feels safe inside, knowing that vampires can't enter a house without an invitation. Ed tries to escape the place, but falls into a pool and gets hurt. Jerry soon chases Ed into a nearby pool and convinces him that his life would be much better if he were a vampire. Ed succumbs and willingly allows Jerry to bite him. The next day, Charlie realizes that he has been too distant from Ed and hasn't given him enough credit for his actions. When he reaches school, he discovers that Ed is not available during attendance. Charlie goes to Ed's home to check on him, but his parents inform him that Ed left very early. Charlie checks Ed's room, where he finds it completely covered with blankets, to avoid sunlight. He checks his system, and finds videos of Jerry being taken from a hidden spot by Ed. In all the videos, Jerry is not visible, but things move on their own. Charlie realizes that Ed was right all along, and he was wrong not to believe him. Charlie returns home and unexpectedly meets Jerry, who asks for some beers. Jerry intentionally tries to help Charlie, hoping that he will invite him inside his home. However, Charlie is cautious of not inviting Jerry, but accidentally spills a beer, making him suspicious that Charlie knows about him. Jerry informs Charlie that his mom and Amy need to be taken care of, and that Charlie is all they have, indirectly warning him to mind his own business. Meanwhile, Amy is in Charlie's room, waiting for him. She tries to have some fun with Charlie, to calm him down, but he remains distracted, and shows no interest. Through the window, Charlie sees Doris talking with Jerry. Jerry notices Charlie watching him, and this causes Charlie to panic, which interrupts the mood with Amy, leading her to leave the home. Suddenly, during the night, Charlie hears Doris screaming, and calls the cops on Jerry. However, Jerry manages to convince the cop that he was just making a girl scream in bed, as they would understand what it mean. Charlie sees Jerry leave the home to get some drinks. He breaks into Jerry's home and searches for Doris. He notices an insignia on the wall and takes a picture of it. While searching, Jerry returns to the garage, prompting Charlie to hide in a closet. He discovers a hidden room with multiple doors. As Jerry enters the room to get a drink from Doris, Charlie sneaks into an empty room and observes from there. Jerry bites Doris, who manages to conceal Charlie's presence. After leaving the room, Jerry senses something amiss, but decides to leave Charlie be. Charlie attempts to save Doris by freeing her from the house. Jerry realizes Charlie's intentions, but intentionally allows them to leave. As Charlie and Doris exit the house, Jerry watches from behind. Tragically, Doris is killed when exposed to sunlight. Charlie realizes that he was intentionally allowed to save Doris, placing the blame and guilt on him. He becomes frustrated with his mom and emphatically tells her not to invite or acknowledge Jerry under any circumstances. Charlie searches for Peter Vincent, who claims to be a magician and vampire expert, as Ed had told him earlier. Amy checks on Charlie, noticing that he is acting weird, but he convinces her it's nothing and goes to Las Vegas to visit Peter. He tries to strike up a conversation with Peter, pretending to be from the media. Peter informs him that all of his shows are merely illusions and gimmicks. As Charlie persists in asking for help with killing vampires, Peter thinks he's a nut job and asks him to leave. Back at home, Charlie starts doing strange things, like placing crosses in the windows. Mark and his friend observe Charlie's behavior and think he's going crazy. Suddenly, out of nowhere, Jerry checks out their car. He then turns and bites Mark and his friend. In his room, Charlie begins crafting steaks, while his mom questions him about his odd behavior. When he hears someone at the door, he urgently warns his mom not to answer it, and quickly moves toward the door, where he finds Amy. All this commotion leaves Amy frustrated, and she asks Charlie why he has been neglecting her lately. Charlie tries to avoid the question, but Jerry arrives at their home and calls out to them. Charlie stops Amy and his mom from responding or letting Jerry in. Jerry informs them that his son has harassed him and threatens to call the cops if they don't open the door. Jane also stands by Charlie and asks Jerry to call the authorities. Jerry goes back and brings a shovel to dig in their backyard. Jane thinks that all of this is a joke for Amy, and that Charlie somehow convinced Jerry to participate. However, things quickly take a turn for the worse when Jerry starts digging into the gas line and ignites it. The whole house is engulfed in a fiery blast, and Jane quickly gets Charlie and Amy into the car. Jerry throws a bike at them and starts chasing them in his car. He stops their car in front, but Charlie drives the car over him, hoping that he would be dead. However, Jerry attaches himself below the car and starts tearing it apart, shocking Jane and Amy as they realize he is a real vampire. He stops the car, but a stranger from behind crashes into their car. Jerry topples the car himself, fully transformed into a vampire, and bites off the stranger. Charlie confronts him with the cross, but Jerry sarcastically burns it and attempts to attack him for being nosy. He tries to stake Charlie in the heart, but Jane impales him with a metal signboard, and she also gets fainted. Jerry, in pain, removes the metal rod from his chest, while Charlie drives away, pushing the other car over Jerry. Meanwhile, Peter, at his place in Vegas, reflects on what Charlie had told him earlier, and takes a drink, where he sees the images Charlie had left behind. He remembers something he had read about the insignia before. Charlie admits his mom to the nearby hospital, and answers the inquiries from the cops. He feels that all of this happened is his fault, and he ignored Ed when he came to him about Jerry, almost begging him. Amy convinces him that it's not his fault, and that no one would have believed him if he had said that there is a vampire in town. Peter calls him and informs him that he can help, and asks Charlie and Amy to meet him in 1 hour at his place. He explains that the insignia Charlie showed earlier refers to a tribe originating from the Mediterranean region, and they nest underground. They keep their prey for days and feed on them, sometimes turning them into tribal creatures. They are hard to kill, as they are a strong breed. At that time, a delivery guy arrives at Peter's place, and Charlie finds it strange to receive a delivery at that time. Before realizing that the delivery guy might be one of Jerry's vampire pawns, Ed arrives, who has now turned into a vampire. Ed lets Jerry into the tower. Peter locks himself in the panic room, where Ed's hand gets cut off. Jerry bites the security and takes the elevator to his floor. While Charlie fights Ed, Amy grabs a gun with silver bullets, but soon realizes it's ineffective against vampires, as it's meant for werewolves. She finds holy water and pours it on Jerry. While Ed almost reaches Charlie, Amy saves him by kicking off Ed. Charlie, hesitantly, and with no other choice, stakes him in the heart. He hears Ed's final words, assuring him that it's okay. As Charlie and Amy escape through the tower, they find themselves on a party floor, where they get separated by the crowd. Jerry approaches Amy and, using his vampire sense, tricks her by feeding her his blood. Meanwhile, Charlie spots Peter and asks for his help, but Peter refuses and tells him to save himself. Charlie calls him a coward, but then Peter shares his own story how his parents were killed by vampires when he was a child, which explains his obsession with vampire-related things and his need to hide to survive. Peter gives Charlie a stake blessed by St. Michael, explaining that he can use it to kill the vampire and also restore those turned by him back to normal, giving Charlie a chance to save his girlfriend. Peter also suggests the idea of setting the vampire on fire before staking him, as vampires in a state of combustion are less able to think clearly. Charlie waits until dawn and shops for items to kill vampires. Peter enters the house and assists Charlie in the mission to kill the vampire. Together, they enter a trapdoor leading to an underground area. Jerry pushes Peter away and traps Charlie with Amy. Jerry says that Peter is almost like his parents were, and hits him with a small stone, pinching a drop of blood. On the other side, Amy hugs Charlie and says that he should have saved her, but now she doesn't have another way. She starts turning into a vampire, saying that she and Charlie could be together forever after turning him as well. Charlie then hurts her with the stake and escapes into another room. Peter shoots off stakes, killing some of the vampires. Charlie shoots off some of the roof, allowing sunlight into the room, while getting some vampires off of Peter. Jerry tries to trigger Charlie by saying that he has Amy now, thanks to him, that he feels young again, and could have her for eternity all to himself. Peter, being bitten by vampires, starts smoking in the sunlight slowly. In front of Charlie, Jerry kisses and feeds Amy with his blood, invigorating Charlie. Charlie turns himself into a torch by lighting himself on fire and starts to roll over Jerry. While fighting, Peter helps him by shooting the rooftop to open more sunlight, giving a hand to Charlie. Jerry, being exposed to more sunlight, starts burning, while Peter throws the holy stake to Charlie, staking right through Jerry's heart. Jerry completely burns off and dies for real, taking all the vampire souls back into him and blasting off the room. All the people who were turned into vampires in that room turn back to normal. Peter puts out the fire on Charlie and saves him, bringing him back to normal. Finally, Charlie gets some time off to have some fun with Amy in Peter's place, after being almost killed by a weird fright night. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please share it with your friends, give us a thumbs up, and subscribe for more. Your support means a lot and helps us continue creating content. We look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care.